Welcome to my YouTube Neov Story channel. Our story officially begins. I hope you like it. A strong metallic taste of blood filled my mouth, and sharp pain coursed through my body like an electric current. I struggled to open my eyes, but found my eyelids were as heavy as lead. What's wrong with me? What happened? Fuzzy memory fragments are rolling in my mind. I remember I was on my way home, then, a dark shadow? The excruciating pain made it impossible for me to think, and my consciousness gradually became hazy. I felt as if I were drifting on a rocking small boat, surrounded by endless darkness. I don't know how long it was, but I was woken up by a bone-chilling cold. I suddenly opened my eyes, only to find myself lying in a cold and damp alley, surrounded by towering brick walls, with only a gloomy slice of sky visible above. I struggled to sit up, but found my body to be unusually heavy, as if something was weighing it down. I looked down and was instantly scared to death. There was a man covered in blood lying on top of me. He had messy blonde hair, his pale face covered in horrifying scratches, and what terrified me the most was the trace of blood, my blood, still lingering at the corners of his mouth. Ah! I screamed and tried to push him away, but found his hands gripping my clothes tightly, with surprising strength. I struggled desperately, and fear and nausea nearly made me collapse. At that moment, I witnessed an even more terrifying sight. His chest was actually rising and falling slightly. Is he still alive? He slowly raised his head, his blood-red eyes staring at me intently, his mouth curving into a strange smile, revealing two sharp fangs. You, he said in a hoarse voice, as if he had not spoken for a long time, you are mine. I was scared out of my wits, desperately trying to flee this dreadful place. My legs were like they were filled with lead, and they simply wouldn't obey me. I could only watch helplessly as he approached me step by step, his eyes gleaming with greed, like a wild beast eyeing its prey. Don't come closer. I cried out in terror, my voice trembling terribly. He, however, seemed not to have heard my words, continued to approach me, his cold fingers gently stroking my cheek, with a nauseating stench of decay. You are so beautiful, he murmured, his voice filled with infatuation and desire. Your blood, it smells so good. I closed my eyes desperately, awaiting the arrival of death. At that moment, a deep, rumbling roar suddenly sounded at the entrance of the alley, and a tall figure slowly walked in. Get lost, little cutie. I feel like I've been run over by a truck, with every bone in my body aching. The pungent smell of blood and the damp scent of soil assaulted my nostrils, causing me to retch involuntarily. I tried to push myself up, but found that my hands had turned into furry paws, with sharp claws sinking deep into the cold stone floor. Damn, I groaned, my voice hoarse like a bellows. At this moment, I noticed that I had undergone a tremendous change. My clothes are tattered and worn, and the exposed skin on my body is covered in a layer of grayish-black fur. My powerful limbs are filled with strength, and I can even feel the sharp teeth pressing against my lower lip, making me want to tear and bite. You woke up. A deep, magnetic voice sounded overhead, and I suddenly looked up to see a tall figure standing under the dim streetlight. He wore a long black trench coat, the collar raised high, covering most of his face, revealing only a pair of sharp golden eyes that stared at me intensely, like a wild beast. Who are you? I warily backed away, but accidentally stepped into the pool of blood on the ground, causing me to stumble. Your savior. He spoke calmly, yet with an undeniable air of authority, and he is also one of your kind counterparts. I was stunned for a moment, looked down at my furry paws, a sense of strange fear welled up in my heart. You mean, I am also a monster? Monster? He let out a light laugh, his tone laced with a hint of sarcasm. It is the vampire-turned monster, you and me. Vampire, at the mention of this word, the face of that blonde man immediately comes to my mind, his blood-red eyes, his sharp fangs, and that chilling words, you are mine. Did you kill him? I asked through gritted teeth, the intense hatred overwhelming me, and I couldn't help but want to pounce and tear everything in front of me to pieces. Calm down, little one. He did not get angry because of my hostility, but instead stepped closer, and the moonlight illuminated his face, a breathtakingly handsome face, with sharp features, a high-bridged nose, thin lips curled slightly into a sinister smile, but those golden eyes were as cold as a sharp blade. You are still too weak. If you want to take revenge, you must learn to control the beast within you. I took a deep breath and tried hard to suppress the anger and fear in my heart. He's right, I'm now just a mindless wild beast, consumed by hatred. What do you want me to do? I raised my head, looked directly into his golden eyes, and spoke in a cold tone. Come with me. He turned around, and the moonlight cast a long shadow behind him. I will teach you how to become a true werewolf. I unhesitatingly followed after them. I know this will be a path of thorns and blood, but I have no retreat left. I will make the vampires pay the price, for myself and for all the lives they have ruined. We weave through the dark corners of the city, and he takes me to an abandoned factory. The air is permeated with the scent of machine oil and dust, and the walls are covered with faded marks, as if they were telling the story of the passage of time. He pushed open a heavy iron door, the harsh metallic scraping sound echoing through the empty factory building. I followed him cautiously, but he suddenly yanked me into the darkness. Relax, his deep voice sounded in my ear, with a hint of warmth, making my heart beat uncontrollably. This place is safe. Who are you? I shook off his hand, with a hint of panic in my tone. He fell silent for a moment, as if hesitating about something, then slowly spoke. I am Ares, the Alpha of the wolf tribe. Alpha, my mind is filled with countless legends about werewolves, the mightiest of rulers, possessing absolute dominance and leadership. And now, I stand before him, confined in his embrace. What do you want to do? My voice trembled slightly, not knowing whether it was due to fear or some other emotion. Ares, Alpha of the Wolf clan, these words exploded in my mind, impacting my already shattered perception. I took a step back, nearly falling back into that damned pool of blood. He seemed to see through my embarrassment, stretching out his hand to help me, but I warily pushed it away. Don't touch me. He raised his eyebrows, a very punchable expression, as if saying, little thing, you're quite spicy. He withdrew his hand and said slowly, what? Are you afraid I'll eat you? I'm not interested in the likes of you, a little runt who hasn't even grown all his fur yet. I'm about to be amused by my anger. Have I not grown my hair yet? Had he not suddenly appeared, I might have already avenged my enemy. You think I'm eager for you to save me? If it weren't for you, I would have already. It has become a cold, lifeless corpse. His tone was icy cold, like a bucket of cold water poured down, extinguishing all my anger, leaving only a chilling chill to the bone. Yes, if it wasn't for him, I would have already died, just like those poor souls who had their blood drained by vampires, and become a lifeless, cold corpse. I sat down helplessly on the ground, hugging my knees, and buried my face in my arms. I loathe my own weakness, I loathe the cruelty of vampires, and I loathe my own powerlessness even more. Do you want to take revenge? His voice rang out above me, like a flash of lightning in the darkness, illuminating my desperate heart. I suddenly raised my head and looked directly into his golden eyes, and said word for word, I want them to pay with blood for their debts. Very good. A cold, cruel smile curled his lips, as if he was anticipating a slaughter feast. I will teach you how to control the beast within you, so that you may become a true werewolf, a killing machine that will strike terror into the hearts of all vampires. In the days that followed, Ares put me through a hellish training regimen. He taught me how to control the wolf-like nature within me, how to use the wolf's senses, and how to unleash my speed and strength to the fullest. I spend every day in sweat, blood, and pain, but I have no complaints, because I know that only in this way can I take revenge, protect myself, and survive in this dangerous world. Listen, Anna, Ares said as he dodged my attacks, the vampire's greatest weapons are not their fangs and claws, but their speed and ability to confuse. You must learn to discern their intentions, find their weaknesses, and deliver a fatal blow. I let out a low growl and lunged at him again, my claws slicing through the air with a sharp whistling sound. Ares dodged to the side, but I had anticipated it. With a turn, I harshly kicked him in the abdomen, sending him flying. Not bad, little one, you've made great progress. Ares got up from the ground, dusted off his clothes, and a slight smile of approval appeared on the corners of his mouth. This is still not enough. I coldly said, I want to become stronger, strong enough to tear apart all the vampires. To collect information about vampires, I began to wander around the various corners of the city. During the day, I am a harmless university student, moving between the library, cafes, and bars, collecting all possible intelligence. At night, I become a hunter of the dark, weaving through the shadowy corners of the city, tracking the scent of vampires, seeking their lairs. Hey, beautiful, are you alone? In a bar, a greasy man winked at me, Would you like to have a drink together? I held back my nausea and put on a sweet smile. Sure, I'd be happy to. The man was clearly intoxicated by my enthusiasm, and he hastily pulled me to the bar, ordering me one drink after another. I pretended to be drunk while extracting his information. Do you know if there have been any strange things happening in the city recently? I casually asked, for example, about vampires. The man paused for a moment, then burst out laughing. Vampire? Huh, do you believe in those ghost stories too? That's all a lie for children. Is that so? I said in a pretended disappointment that I thought there really was one, and I wanted to see it. Don't be silly, those things are all fake. The man put his arm around my shoulder, leaned close to my ear, and said in a drunken voice, if you're looking for excitement, I can take you to a place. I suddenly pushed him away, stood up, and coldly said, no need, I'm not interested in your provocation. I left the bar without looking back. I know I won't get any valuable information out of him, I need to change my target. I walked out of the bar, just about to leave, when suddenly, a strong smell of blood invaded my nostrils. I suddenly raised my head and followed the scent, only to see a figure in a black cloak standing at the mouth of the alley not far away. At his feet lay a mangled corpse. The neon lights sliced through the damp streets, an eerie fragrance of cheap perfume and low-quality alcohol permeates the air, and deafening music pours out from one nightclub after another, as if it could shatter one's eardrums. I weave through this kaleidoscopic stream of people, striving to appear like an ordinary girl seeking pleasure and amusement. But I know that I do not fit in with them. My senses are attuned to everything around me, and the slightest movement or sound does not escape my ears and nose. I am searching for that nauseating bloody scent, searching for that damn murderer. Hey, hot chick, alone? A muscular hulk blocked my way, and his heavy sweat stench made me involuntarily wrinkle my nose. Get lost, I coldly said, I don't want to waste time on him. Don't be so indifferent. The strapping man obviously has no intention of letting me go easily. How about going to a fun place with me? He reached out and tried to grab my arm as he spoke. I instinctively dodged to the side, grabbed his wrist, and twisted it forcefully. A crisp snap was heard, and the burly man let out a pig-like wail, clutching his wrist as he fell to his knees. If you dare to touch me again, it won't be as simple as just breaking your wrist, I said coldly, then left without looking back. I weaved through the crowded throng, growing more and more anxious. These foolish humans only know to indulge in pleasure, unaware of the dangers lurking in the darkness. And I have to pay for their stupidity, like a hunting dog, sniffing out the trail of prey in this wicked city. At that moment, a faint scent of blood entered my nostrils, and my heart suddenly raced, like a wolf that had caught the scent of its prey. I followed the scent and came to a secluded alley. The alley was piled with garbage, emitting a nauseating stench of decay. I approached the direction of the bloody smell slowly and gently. My hand has already touched the dagger at my waist, ready to fight at any moment. Help, someone, come save me, a faint voice came from behind the garbage pile. I felt a tightness in my chest, and I quickly walked to the back of the garbage dump, where I saw a young girl lying in a pool of blood. She was pale and her breathing was faint, and her clothes were stained with fresh blood. Don't be afraid, I'm here. I gently picked up the girl and checked her injuries. Her abdomen was deeply stabbed with a sharp instrument, and the wound was bleeding profusely. Yes, a vampire, the girl managed to spit out a few words. He sucked my blood. Don't speak, I will save you. I tore off my own clothes and helped the girl with a simple bandage on her wound. Useless, the girl grabbed my hand, her gaze gradually fading. I'm going to die. Don't talk nonsense, you won't die. I firmly gripped her hand, trying to give her strength. Kill me, the girl said intermittently. I don't want to become a monster. I was stunned, seeing the girl's anguished expression. I suddenly understood her meaning. She was bitten by a vampire, and if I don't kill her, she will become just like those monsters. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I know what I should do, but I can't bring myself to do it. I have personally killed so many vampires, but they were all monsters, and she was just an innocent girl. Just as I was hesitating, a cold voice suddenly sounded behind me, a truly touching scene, the werewolf and the dying person. I suddenly turned around, only to see a tall figure standing at the entrance of the alley, his eyes glowing a sinister red in the darkness, and a cruel smile playing on his lips. You are the one. My pupils suddenly contracted, a surge of anger rose from the bottom of my heart, the murderer of her. Kill her? It's a pity, I was originally planning to let her also taste the flavor of becoming one of us. The vampire licked his lips, his scarlet tongue gliding over his sharp teeth, his gaze disdainfully sweeping over the girl lying on the ground and my helpless self. Since you want her dead so much, I'll go all the way in being a good person. Before he could finish speaking, his figure vanished like a ghost and appeared beside the girl, his sharp claws unhesitatingly pierced through her heart. The girl convulsed painfully a few times, then fell completely silent. I am furious, the flames of anger are burning fiercely in my chest, almost devouring me. I clenched my fist, the sharp nails digging deeply into the palm of my hand, but the intense pain could not calm me down. Anger? Hatred? You should be grateful to me for sparing her the torment of becoming a monster. The vampire revealed a sickly smile, as if admiring a work of art while looking at me. But you too will soon become a monster like them, won't you? He is right, I can already feel the restlessness of the wolf nature, that bloodthirsty desire swirling within me, clamoring to break free from the constraints of reason. Shut up. I let out a roar and suddenly leapt towards the vampire, my sharp claws slicing through the air and going straight for his throat. The vampire sneered contemptuously, effortlessly evading my attack, and with a backhand slap sent me flying. I fell heavily to the ground, a sour and sweet taste rising in my throat, but he clearly had no intention of letting me go, his figure lurching towards me again. The narrow space of the sewer became our battlefield. I used the agility of the wolf to contend with him, claws and fangs were my only weapons. But my attacks don't hurt him at all, it's his counterattacks that leave me battered and bruised. How boring. The vampire seems to have grown tired of the cat-and-mouse game, frowning impatiently. Let's get this over with quickly. The moment he finished speaking, a powerful force erupted from within him, causing the surrounding air to seemingly freeze. I feel immense pressure, as if my body is bound by invisible shackles, unable to move. It's over, you bastard. The vampire sneered, approaching step by step, with a bloodthirsty gleam in his eyes. At that moment, a deep, rumbling roar emanated from the depths of the sewer, accompanied by the surging of the water flow. A massive black shadow was rapidly approaching us. The vampire's complexion changed slightly, he turned his head towards the direction of the voice, a trace of wariness flashed in his eyes. Damn, he's been discovered. He looked at me deeply, as if weighing something, but in the end, he turned and disappeared into the darkness. I struggled to get up, the excruciating pain made me gasp. I looked up towards the direction of the dark shadow, my heart pounding furiously, a strange mixture of fear and anticipation intertwined. The dark shadow was getting closer, and in the faint light, I finally saw its true face. It was a massive wolf, larger and more robust than any I had seen before. Its black fur glistened in the water, and its eyes burned like flames, exuding a chilling sense of intimidation. It walked up to me, lowered its head, sniffed me with its nose, and then let out a low growl. I instinctively felt afraid, but it did not harm me, but rather licked my wounds with its tongue. The warm feeling emanated from the wound, and I was surprised to find that it was actually healing me. Who are you? I asked warily, my voice slightly hoarse from the pain. The giant wolf did not respond. It stood up straight and looked at me with its deep, unfathomable eyes, then turned and walked deeper into the sewer. I hesitated for a moment, but in the end I followed along. We delve deeper, the sewers become wider and wider, and the air is permeated with a musty, damp smell, with the occasional sound of water dripping. They had been walking for an unknown length of time when a massive iron gate appeared before them. The giant wolf used its body to ram open the iron gate and entered. I followed it through the iron gate, and the sight before my eyes left me stunned. This is actually a vast underground space, with countless interwoven and complex pipelines. In the dim lighting, a group of figures are traversing among them. They have golden eyes like giant wolves, and sharp ears. I found it hard to believe what was in front of me. Could they be the legendary werewolves? The giant wolf let out a low growl, and the crowd immediately fell silent, with all eyes fixed on me. I clenched my fists nervously, my body trembling slightly, unsure of how they would treat me. Don't be afraid, child. An aged voice rang out, and an old man leaning on a cane emerged from the crowd. I am the chieftain of this pack of wolves, and you may call me Rain. I warily stared at him. Why do you want to help me? Because we are all of the same kind. The old man pointed to my chest and said, the blood of the wolf clan flows within you, and you are destined to be one of us. I was stunned, instinctively looking down at my own body. Could it be, have I really become a monster? Don't worry, child. The old man seems to have seen through my thoughts. Becoming a werewolf is not a bad thing. We will teach you how to control the wild beast within, and turn you into a true warrior. In the days that followed, I began to accept the training of the wolf clan. They taught me how to sense the wolf nature within, how to transform, and how to fight. At first, I was very resistant. I didn't want to become a bloodthirsty monster. I wanted to become human again. Who do you think you are? A poor wretch toyed with by a vampire. A young werewolf scoffed. If it weren't for us, you would have become a cold, lifeless corpse. Shut up, Kyle. A tall girl with fiery red hair stepped forward to defend me. Anna has just joined us, you should be kinder to her. I looked at her gratefully. The girl smiled at me. I'm Alicia, welcome to the wolf clan. Alicia became my first friend in the wolf clan. She patiently taught me, encouraged me, and helped me adapt to the wolf clan's life more quickly. However, controlling the wild beast within me is far more difficult than I had imagined. Each time I transform, I feel my sanity being devoured, leaving only an endless desire to kill. Calm down, Anna. The voice of Chief Laren echoed in my ear. You must learn to control it, rather than being controlled by it. I desperately tried to control myself, but my body attacked the wooden stake in front of me uncontrollably, again and again, until I collapsed on the ground exhausted. Damn it, I couldn't help cursing. Why have I become this way? You're too impatient, Anna. Alicia handed me a bottle of water. Controlling one's wolf-like nature requires time and patience. You've done very well. I shook my head with a bitter smile. Can I really do it? Can I really control the beast within me and avenge myself and my family? At night, I came to the training ground alone, practicing transformation over and over again under the moonlight. Suddenly, I felt a powerful presence approaching from behind. Who? I turned around abruptly and asked guardedly. It's me. A deep male voice rang out, and a tall figure emerged from the darkness. He has short black hair, deep eyes like the stars in the night sky, and a handsome face with a touch of nonchalance. Who are you? I asked warily. I am Ethan, the wolf tribe's combat instructor. He stepped closer to me. I noticed that the corners of his mouth curled up into a meaningful smile, and there seemed to be something hidden in the depths of his eyes, which made me feel uneasy. Since Ethan appeared, my training intensity can be described as doubled. This guy may appear to be nonchalant on the surface, but when he trains, he's like a ruthless, merciless drill sergeant. I'm always exhausted like a dead dog, yet he still seems unsatisfied, which makes my teeth itch, and I really want to punch his handsome face hard. What, are you already exhausted so soon? He raised his eyebrows at me, with a hint of sarcasm on the corners of his mouth. With this little strength, how can you fight against a vampire? I gritted my teeth and got up from the ground, glaring at him fiercely. None of your business. He laughed softly, and in the moonlight, his eyes were like sparkling black obsidian, causing my heart to skip a beat. Little wolf cub, you can't do it this way. He suddenly drew close to me, his warm breath wafting in my ear, carrying a faint mint scent. I want to take revenge, but I can't rely on brute force alone. I felt a bit uneasy with his sudden proximity, and instinctively took a step back, but he grabbed my wrist. Relax, he said in a low voice, feel the power within you, and let it be used by you. His palms were warm and dry, as if they possessed a strange magic that gradually calmed my restless wolf-like nature. I closed my eyes and tried to feel the power he spoke of. Gradually, I felt a powerful energy surging within me, as if it was about to burst out at any moment. Very good, Ethan's voice sounded in my ear, remember this feeling. He released my hand and took a step back. I opened my eyes and found that my body was full of strength, as if I had endless energy. In the coming days, Ethan began to teach me some practical combat techniques, such as how to utilize the wolf senses, how to attack unexpectedly, and how to evade enemy attacks. I then realized that werewolves are not solely reliant on brute force, but also possess their own combat wisdom and skills. Under Ethan's guidance, my progress has been rapid and dramatic. I am no longer the rookie who only knows how to flail his claws aimlessly. I have started to learn how to control my strength, how to achieve the greatest victory at the smallest cost. Our training results were quickly verified in actual combat. That night, we received news that the vampires were holding a ritual in an abandoned factory on the outskirts, preparing to transform the captured humans into their own kind. It's our turn to shine. Kale rubbed his hands together excitedly and said, "Remember, our goal is to stop the ritual and rescue those people," Chief Ren said solemnly. "Do not get entangled in battle, act quickly and decisively." We, a group of more than 10 people, infiltrated the abandoned factory under the cover of night. The factory was pitch black, and the air was permeated with a foul, bloody stench that was nauseating. "Be careful," Alicia said in a low voice. "The vampires are likely hiding in the dark." We walked slowly and cautiously towards the depths of the factory. Suddenly, I heard a faint sound of crying coming from ahead. "Someone," I said in a low voice. We groped our way through the sound and discovered a spacious room where dozens of people were bound together, shivering. "Damn, we're late," Kale cursed under his breath. "The ritual has begun." I looked up and saw in the center of the room a man dressed in a black robe facing away from us, holding a dagger in his hand, about to stab the throat of a young girl. "Damn, we're late," Kale cursed under his breath and charged to the front. I followed closely, with claws extended, my heartbeat pounding deafeningly like drums. The air was permeated with a nauseating smell of blood and gore, mixed with the distinct stench of vampires, making my stomach churn. In the center of the room, a man wearing a black robe stood with his back to us, a dagger in his hand glinting coldly as he prepared to strike a young girl. The girl stared with horrified eyes, silent tears rolling down her face, and I seemed to see my former helpless self. "Stop!" I roared and lunged towards the man in the black robe with the speed of lightning. He paused, quickly turned around, revealing a colorless face, his crimson eyes full of mockery. "The overconfident wolf pup," he sneered and easily dodged my attack. "The battle is about to begin." Ethan, Kyle, and other Wolf Clan warriors transformed into wolves, fighting alongside the vampires. The moonlight shone through the dilapidated windows, casting the entire factory in an eerie, purgatory-like glow. I was caught by 2 vampires, whose speed was incredibly fast and whose strength was not to be underestimated. I was awkward and clumsy, and quickly got into trouble. "Damn, this won't work. I must act quickly and decisively. Anna, be careful." Ethan's voice came from not far away, with a hint of anxiety. I glanced away from him, only to see a tall figure suddenly appear behind him, gripping a silver long sword in his hand, the blade's tip pointed directly at Ethan's heart. "Ethan!" I cried out in surprise and rushed towards him without hesitation. It's too late. The silver sword pierced through Ethan's chest, spraying blood that stained my eyes red. I let out a mournful cry, watching Ethan collapse in front of me, his life force rapidly fading. "You, why?" I asked in a trembling voice, looking at the intruder in disbelief. He slowly turned around, and in the moonlight, I finally saw his face. What a face that was, sculpted to perfection like a divine deity, yet cold and devoid of warmth. Those golden eyes held no trace of emotion, only endless indifference and cruelty. "Asazo," I murmured to myself, this name seems to possess a certain magic, evoking fleeting images in my mind. "Do you know me?" Asato raised his eyebrows, a cold curve on his lips. "That's right, you were born for me." "For you?" I was stunned, not understanding the meaning in his words. "Have you always wondered why you became a werewolf?" Asato came towards me step by step, and each step felt like he was stepping on the tip of my heart, making it hard for me to breathe. "Because you are the vessel I have carefully chosen to hold my power and become a part of my rule over this world." "What are you talking about?" I shook my head, wanting to deny it, but deep down there was a voice telling me that what he said was true. "Do you think your rebirth is just a coincidence? Do you really think the people and events you have encountered are just a coincidence?" The voice of Asazo was coiled around me like a venomous snake. "All of this was arranged by me, just to make you step by step towards me, and become a werewolf." Ethan's death was like a cold knife, stabbing mercilessly into my heart, shattering all my hopeful illusions. Asazo's words echoed in my mind like the whispers of a demon, mocking my ignorance and powerlessness. I attacked Asazo furiously, my claws tearing through the air, but he easily evaded me. His power is unfathomable, and each of his strikes carries a devastating force. I am no match for him. "Give up, Lilith," Asato's voice was cold and mocking. "You can't defeat me, you are destined to be mine." "Shut up." I roar, the fury in my eyes is about to burn me to ashes. Isan's sacrifice will not be in vain, I will avenge you all. Revenge? The Asazo statue seemed to have heard some amusing joke, its golden eyes full of mockery. You? Just you? Who do you think you are? You are nothing more than a chess piece in my hand, a toy for me to play with. He suddenly grabbed my neck and lifted me high up. I struggled desperately, but it was to no avail. The fear of suffocation made my vision blur, and my own heartbeat pounded in my ears like a drum. Look at me, Lilith. Asazo's voice was like a summons from hell, with a terrifying power. Look at me, submit to me, become my possession. I stared at him intently, the hatred in my eyes almost overwhelming him. Even if it means death, I will not surrender. Just as I thought I was going to be strangled to death by him, Asazo suddenly let out a muffled groan and let go of his hands. I fell helplessly to the ground, breathing in deep breaths of fresh air, greedily feeling the preciousness of life. I looked up at Asazo and saw an arrow piercing his chest. The arrow shaft was made of a strange metallic material, emitting a faint blue glow. A towering figure slowly emerged from the shadows, with a cascade of silver hair and deep blue eyes that seemed to hold endless secrets, like the vastness of the starry sky. Who are you? Asazo pressed his wound, his voice tinged with a hint of disbelief and terror. It is not important who I am, what is important is that you must pay the price for your actions. The man's voice was deep and resonant, with an undeniable air of authority. How dare you hurt me? Asato stared in disbelief. Do you know who I am? I am. I know who you are, Asazo, the man said coldly, interrupting him, but so what? In my eyes, you are no different from the ants on the ground. Asazo wanted to say something more, but the man had apparently lost his patience. He waved his hand, and a blue light flashed, and Asazo let out a scream of agony as his body instantly turned to ash, leaving only the glowing arrow on the ground. The man turned to look at me, a flicker of complex emotion passing through his deep blue eyes. He reached out his hand to me, his voice impossibly gentle. Are you all right? I stared at him blankly, still in shock for the moment. Did he really kill Asazo? Who are you? I asked warily and did not reach out to accept his help. The man smiled slightly, as if a spring breeze had swept over the ice and snow, melting all the frost. I'm Arthur, and I'm here to help you. Can you help me? I looked at him suspiciously. Why would you help me? Because, Arthur paused, a glimpse of elusive emotion flashed in his deep blue eyes. Because you are very important to me. His words seemed to carry a certain magic that made my heart skip a beat inexplicably. Who are you? I pressed him further, as my instinct told me that this man was not as simple as he appeared on the surface. Arthur looked at me deeply, and slowly spoke, with a trace of resignation in his tone. I am your fiancé. What? I jumped up from the ground in a hurry, looking at him in disbelief. What are you joking about? The battlefield shrouded in smoke, the scent of blood mingled with the smell of earth, nauseating. I leaned helplessly against a broken stone pillar, the crimson blood staining my vision and my heart. I cleared my throat and started coughing violently, clutching my chest. Each cough felt like a sharp blade slicing through my lungs. Anna! A faint call reached my ears, and with great difficulty, I lifted my head to see Line, my wolf clan companion and my closest comrade in arms. He lay in a pool of blood, his once strong body now covered in horrific wounds, and the once vibrant golden eyes had grown dull and lifeless. Liam, I struggled to stand up but collapsed helplessly on the ground, the excruciating pain almost causing me to faint. Stop, don't move, Anna. Liam struggled to raise his hand, wanting to touch my cheek, but it fell limply. I'm glad you're all right. Liam, hang in there, you'll be all right, I'll save you. I shook my head frantically, tears blurring my vision. No, it's useless, Anna. Leon's voice is getting weaker and weaker. We were all wrong. No, we are not wrong. I roar with despair and resentment in my voice. We fight to protect this world and our people. We are not wrong. But we failed. A tear fell from Lien's eye. We were all too naive. No, we still have hope. I grabbed his hand, trying to pass my strength to him. Arthur will surely come to save us. However, my words seemed pale and powerless, and I didn't even believe that Arthur would show up here. Anna, Leon's gaze gradually became blurred, and he said in a broken voice, using the last bit of his strength, promise me, live on, for us, live on. His hands fell limply, and the golden eyes lost all their luster. No! Ryan! I cried out in anguish, but could not awaken his sleeping soul. Ha ha, ha. The jarring laughter echoed across the battlefield, as I lifted my head to see Asazo standing atop the mountain of bodies and blood. He was unscathed, his black robe fluttering in the wind, like a demonic king from hell, exuding a thirst for blood and mockery. This is the consequence of you defying me. Asazu looked down on me from his elevated position, his eyes filled with disdain and contempt. A group of presumptuous ants daring to challenge my authority? Asato, I glared at him through gritted teeth, my eyes burning with fierce anger. Why did you do this? Why exterminate? Why? Asazo laughed loudly towards the sky, his laughter filled with madness and distortion, for this world can only be ruled by the strong. And you, these weak existences, are only fit to become my slaves, my food. You crazy fool. I clenched my fists, wishing I could tear him to pieces. Madman? Asazo sneered, perhaps, but I am the ultimate victor. This world will submit to my feet, and you will become my most humble slave, forever enduring my torment. He walked towards me step by step, each step feeling like it was crushing my heart, leaving me with a sense of suffocating despair. I closed my eyes and waited for death to come. However, at this very moment, I felt a familiar presence. It was him.